The strange part is not that you're tired. It's that you're tired on a day with nothing urgent to do. Time opens up, energy doesn't. Free time is supposed to feel like relief, a softening, a release. But instead, it often arrives with a quiet wait. You sit down, you scroll a little, you stand up. You don't know why you're restless, only that rest isn't working the way it's supposed to. How can time feel available while energy feels gone? What kind of exhaustion exists, even when nothing demanding is happening? And when rest is present, why doesn't it restore anything? This isn't a story about burnout in the dramatic sense. There's no crisis here, no collapse. What we're looking at is subtler. This is about how modern life uses energy in ways that don't look like effort, how tiredness can accumulate without a clear source, and how free time can quietly inherit the same invisible structures as work. The explanation isn't motivational. It isn't about habits or discipline. It's about patterns that repeat whether we notice them or not. We'll move carefully through a few everyday systems that drain energy without announcing themselves, not to fix them, just to see them clearly. 1. The day never actually ends. At first, it feels like a normal evening. Work is finished. Messages slow down. The schedule empties. You sit somewhere familiar, maybe the couch, maybe the bed. Nothing is required of you now, and yet something remains open. A notification you didn't answer, a thought you postponed, a tab still open in your mind. You're not doing anything, but you're not fully off either. Your attention keeps drifting back to unfinished edges. Not enough to act, just enough to stay alert. This is not stress in the traditional sense. It's low-level readiness. Modern days often end without closure. Tasks dissolve instead of concluding. Conversations pause instead of finishing. Work doesn't stop. It simply becomes less visible. So when free time arrives, it inherits that state. The body rests. The nervous system doesn't. Energy isn't only spent through action. It's spent through keeping things open. By the time nothing is happening, you've already been quietly on call for hours, and exhaustion appears, not because you did too much, but because the day never truly told you it was over. There's another pattern hiding underneath that tiredness. It doesn't come from effort. It comes from choice. 2. Free time, filled with decisions. It begins quietly. You finally have an open hour. Nothing planned, nothing scheduled, just time. You reach for your phone without thinking, not because you want something specific, just because it's there. A feed loads. Options appear instantly. Something to watch, something to read, something to respond to. None of it feels important. All of it feels possible. You scroll, you stop, you scroll again. You consider one thing, then another. You don't commit. You don't rest either. This doesn't feel like work. There's no pressure, no deadline, but something subtle is happening. Each option asks a small question. Do you want this? Is this worth your time? What about this instead? You answer without noticing, over and over. Decision-making doesn't always feel like effort, but it uses the same internal resources. Free time used to mean fewer inputs. Now it often means unlimited ones. So rest becomes interactive. Even passive moments require micro-choices. What looks like relaxation is actually low-grade participation. Attention stays engaged. Evaluation stays on. By the time the hour ends, nothing demanding occurred, yet something feels spent. The exhaustion isn't from what you did. It's from how often you had to decide what to do next. Energy fades, not because time was full, but because it was fragmented. 3. Rest that mirrors work. There's one more layer that's easy to miss. When work ends, its shape often remains. The posture doesn't change much. A screen in front of you, information moving past, you responding silently. Even leisure now resembles productivity. Content is consumed. Reactions are processed. Updates are tracked. The environment looks different. The pattern doesn't. So the mind stays in the same mode, receiving, sorting, reacting, not creating pressure, just maintaining engagement. True rest usually involves a shift in pace, in attention, in direction. But modern free time often keeps attention pointed outward, still scanning, still absorbing, so the body pauses. The system doesn't reset. Exhaustion appears without effort, because effort was never the issue. Continuity was. When work and rest share the same structure, energy has nowhere to change states, and tiredness shows up not as a warning, but as a quiet signal that nothing ever fully let go. There's a final pattern that brings everything together. It's the easiest to overlook because it feels personal, but it isn't. 4. Time without texture. Think about a free afternoon. Not busy, not demanding, just open. You move through it lightly. A few minutes here, a few there. Later, when you try to recall it, something feels strange. Nothing stands out. It didn't feel bad. It just didn't feel like much of anything. This kind of time lacks texture. In the past, rest was often defined by contrast. Different places, different rhythms, clear beginnings and endings. Now, many moments blend together. Work, rest, distraction, waiting. Same spaces, same tools, same posture. Time becomes smooth. Without friction, moments don't register deeply. Without distinction, they don't restore much either. So even when time is available, available. It doesn't replenish energy because replenishment depends on variation, on change. The system doesn't get tired from doing too much. It gets tired from never switching modes. This is why exhaustion can appear after an easy day, why rest doesn't feel earned or effective, why free time passes quietly, leaving no residue of renewal. It's not laziness. It's not a lack of gratitude. It's not a personal failure to rest correctly. It's what happens when days are continuous instead of complete, when nothing truly starts, nothing fully ends, and energy slowly leaks, unnoticed. There's no instruction here, no correction to apply, just a clearer picture. Free time doesn't automatically restore energy, especially when it carries the same structures as everything else. Exhaustion, in this sense, isn't a signal to do more or less. It's a signal that something remained open, something never changed state. Once that pattern becomes visible, it explains a lot: the quiet tiredness, the rest that doesn't rest, the time that feels free but not freeing. And sometimes, understanding the pattern is enough to let it loosen on its own.